Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body, holistic life approach.
Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Marie Grossman, and this is the Mindfully Integrative Show. And today we have an amazing mindful chat, shall we say, that I'm excited for you guys to listen and learn more about Rob Swymer. He is a life coach, he is an author, and he has so many things in his life that has kind of transitioned and he's learned from that I want you guys to learn from. So thank you so much, Rob, for being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so grateful to be here and to serve you and your community.
It'll be great for people to learn more about you. As I say initially, what's a little fun fact that people don't know about you?
Oh, yes, a fun fact. I'm a grandfather of four. That's fun, and
Really fun.
keeps me very young. But I'm also an ordained minister to officiate weddings. So. I love doing that. And
have you had a lot of weddings?
I have. I've had several, and I got to officiate the wedding of my daughter just last year. So that was just wonderful. Yeah.
Was it low key? Was it a big wedding?
It was low. It was a decent sized wedding in Florida here on the ocean. It was nice. It was a beautiful day, and it was wonderful to be part of that and to be able to do that for her.
Well, I'm glad you got to enjoy it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's really nice. You got to be a part of it, but then really be a part of it too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's like your faith is really profound. So that's awesome.
Yes, I am definitely faith-based. Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. So let's kind of dive into your book. What is the name of your book first? Because I want people to know about, what we're discussing. Because I talk about integrative health, but here you wrote a book about your life struggles.
Yes, I always show it so people can get a handle on what it is. But and you could go to my website, robswymer.com, and there's a link to that book. This book came about after many years of reflection of sort of the adversity I went through in my life. And as I was on assignment in London for the last 2 years with my company, and it was a crazy story because we left to really enjoy Europe, travel Europe, and have an amazing experience. And we got there in 3 weeks. 3 weeks after arriving in the UK, we were in lockdown with the worldwide pandemic. So we had an interesting experience, and we made the best of it. And overall, we had an amazing experience there going through that. But so I had some time on my hands, and I've always wanted to write this book. And so I actually start the book off with kind of a funny sentence that says, here I am writing a book about adversity as I go through adversity yet again in my life. So it was a very cool time to kind of do that. So, and the book really flowed out of me because I did it reflecting on my 61 years here on Earth, and how I went through my adversity. And believe it or not, a lot of it as a young child, had no idea how I did get through it. But then when I started to evaluate in my later years in my adult life, I kind of put it together, and I detail it in my book of the steps that I took. And, just as a regular guy that went through some stuff. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a regular guy that went through some stuff. And I'm just trying to pass those lessons on. And maybe somebody, it helps somebody.
And it will help someone.
Right.
So we were just generally discussing, you said you had struggles and things would you like to kind of dive into one of this part of the stories that kind of transformed you in some of your life lessons?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I grew up, I actually had a great childhood. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary, middle-class America in Boston, But I grew up with severe learning disabilities, and there were a lot of challenges with that, both in reading and math. And I actually got through college, and I ended up making the dean's list in college, but I did that with a lot of help. But and I still laugh because I went through my entire college career, and I only think I had like maybe 3 or 4 math classes. I just somehow was able to kind of navigate, so I didn't have to do it. Thank goodness. But so I grew up with that adversity right away and learned how to adapt, how to ask for help, not knowing that I was actually doing some self-care, and not even knowing what that meant, of course, as a child. I was also diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. That manifests in different ways, of course, but I did not have a severe case.
Not too severe.
No. I was fortunate. I was very grateful not to have a severe case. So I don't act out or curse or swear, but it certainly put some angst into my, growing up as a kid with other kids, kind of observing, my tics or my movements and so forth. So again, I had to adapt. I had to be able to fit in. I had to overcome that adversity. And later in life, I dealt with addiction. I'm now 30 years sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's a lot.
And what's that?
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. And through that journey of getting sober, I also dealt with suicidal ideation. So I've been in the world of depression. I've been in the world of getting out of that depression and becoming a better person for it, right? And most recently, in the last 9 years, 9 years ago, in fact, just a couple of days ago, Doc, was the 9th year anniversary of my first wife of 32 years. I lost her suddenly to a brain aneurysm.
That is just horrible. And you can call me Damaris, and I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't realize that in your story. And I don't think I ever want anyone to lose anyone. But you were with her for 32 years. That's a very long time.
Yes, we met at 19 on a blind date, and I asked her to marry me in 2 months. We were married the next year in between my junior and senior year of college, which was unheard of at that time, but we did it. And we had a great life together. And, we were just sitting around the hot tub by the pool one Monday night, and she was gone in a second, and my life changed forever. And that really was a catalyst for me writing this book to say, you know what, I've got to start figuring out, how do I not just survive, but thrive? Because the good part about that horrific story is 9 years later now, I found love again. I'm thriving. I'm happy. I'm grateful. And, so that was the whole preface behind getting this word out. Again, it's just a regular guy that went through some stuff to say, look, I want people to learn how I did it. And maybe some of those lessons can help you.
Well, I think it's pretty profound that you're, not only talking about your histories of having addiction and learning disabilities are not something light, and then you also on top of that have survival grief. So those that are listening, these 3 elements are major trauma and mental health issues that you've overcome and built, as we were talking briefly, as resilience. Each one of them you've come across, you were able to step over and get beyond. What do you think were, let's first talk about your learning disability. That was probably a challenge in itself. You were able to get past that?
Yeah, it was a massive challenge. And I actually, in my book, I stepped through kind of what I call the 3 steps to building that resilience muscle. I truly believe that we don't come into this world or on earth with a resilience muscle. We have to build that up. So I talk about going to the mental gym to build that resilience muscle. I become a sort of an advocate for men's mental health. And I talk to guys all the time and get questions on my website. And we always go to the gym, right? And we're always trying to pump up our muscles and be strong and show our strength, but we don't go to the mental gym. If you look at the suicides just in America, 75% of them are men. Almost half of men today will not talk about their mental health. They won't discuss it. They won't be open. I am an advocate to say that, vulnerability is courage, and that actually shows courage to be vulnerable. And I've actually shown that both in my personal life and my professional life. I've been a sales leader in corporate America for over 40 years, and I've done that by being vulnerable. I've done that by being open and honest, and I've had massive success in my career, and it's because of that.
I think that, that shows a lot. I mean, and then you went from your childhood to then dealing with a loss of a wife, family,
Yeah.
For you and your family. And that in itself is significantly profound. Some people don't even get past that. But then on top of that, you had addiction. Did you have addiction in before your wife passed or after?
Oh yeah. So I was sober 21 years when she passed. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I got sober in my 30s. I will tell you the three steps that I sort of identified, and this was really reflecting in my whole life. And then I also talked to people all over the world that I met that went through different adversity, all kind, divorce or depression or physical abuse, mental abuse, anything that become adversity. And it was always, I barreled it down to like three basic principles of building the resilience muscle. And there's work in these, right, Doc? So it's not, I don't want this to come across like, oh, if you just do these three things, you'll be fine, right? Not quite, but yeah, exactly. So the first step really is to accept and acknowledge that you actually are going through adversity right now, whatever that life event is. And I believe that adversity comes in all shapes and sizes. And you can learn from the minor adversity and the catastrophic adversity on two spectrums, right? Mm-hmm. So acknowledge it and accept it.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer, if you really trade your expectations for acceptance, then your whole world changes. So that's the first step. The second step is to embrace it. And that may seem silly, but I actually found out that when I did that, really everything changed. I thank that it's just an emotion. It's your brain telling you that you need to pay attention to it, right? I'm a firm believer that we are in the caveman brain, right? Our brain was not upgraded like a piece of software. We have the same brain. So we have to hack that brain. So the way we do it is the way I do it is I embrace it. I thank the universe for bringing me this adversity. And that may seem silly, but I actually do that outwardly, and I say it outwardly, and I believe it, and it's in my core.
Gratitude for your...
Absolutely. And then the third and final phase is action, right? And that is to sort of pull back, evaluate your options, evaluate where you can go. So I say surrender to your adversity. I say surrender to give in, not give up. So when I say give, I change that one word. Yeah. So when I give in, I mean pull back, evaluate, pivot, and then move forward with new purpose and new perspective. Now, those are the three steps. And when I applied those three steps, sometimes not even knowing I applied them, that's the funny part, I was able to not just survive, but thrive. And I have gone through, yes, my share of adversity, and small and big. I also lost my eyesight, if you could believe it. One more thing that happened I was 23 years old, and I became legally blind. I had keratoconus disease in my left eye. Uh-huh. I was months away from losing my license, and I was a salesperson in a car on the road. So I had to deal with, being a possibility of not being able to see. Now, I was very, very fortunate to get a transplant back then, and back then it was a little different, right?
Wow! So you got a corneal transplant.
Yeah, I've had two in my life, actually, because the other one didn't quite take that much. But now I'm 2030. I mean, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. If you change everything to gratitude, I'm so grateful for that, right? I mean, it's really all about the mindset. And I talk about this in my book. I talk about this when I speak to both corporate and personal groups. And I speak all the time on this. It's all about the mindset. It's a top-down solution. And you have to get the mindset correct before you do anything. And by the way, I want to make sure I say it again. That's where the work is. And this is not easy to do. But if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And,
everybody would do it. That's why I'm always saying my little quick mindful way every day, a mindful step. You got to do something daily. Yes.
Yep.
Tell them, please, because they don't listen to me. I want to listen to other people, especially yourself, who has this history and story that is some people listening will be like, I can't do that. Just the death in the family could crumble someone. Vision loss, learning not being able to feel like you can get past some sort of, schooling or being good enough. You have all of these elements there that are, shall we say, like, they're not the simplest things to overcome.
Right. And if I didn't get the mindset correct, right, then I never would have been able to not only get through them, but thrive. And I talk about that word thrive. I mean, I am absolutely thriving. I went from, bouncing checks, right, when I was younger, right, to pay for diapers, to now being financially independent, right? There is a process that you go through with that. But the only way I could have done that was to get the mindset correct from the very beginning. You've got to do that. And one of the things that I say very often, always, to my clients or anybody I'm speaking to, is it's progress versus perfection. You have to take little steps to become big steps. And I always say, get it started. Don't worry about getting it right. You talk in these sound bites and people can understand, right? It's like, don't worry about getting it perfect. Just get it started. And
I couldn't agree with you more. I think I had someone say that to me, and I was like, because I was so worried about being perfect and things. And I remember having roadblocks even on my own journey, and feeling not good enough, because everybody said I wasn't good, not going to get past. And, it's amazing how when you don't, you just kind of just do it. And then worst case, you just redo it, I guess, or
yeah.
I guess, I don't know, as long as you're,
Yeah. And I think what we're talking about, we're kind of, all over the place here, which is great. But what we're talking about is limited beliefs, right? And we all come into this world with limited beliefs. And when we peel back the layers of those limited beliefs, and again, do the work, really hard work. And I've done decades of personal development to peel back those layers. And when you do that work and you really look at those limited beliefs, you actually laugh at them. They just are silly. Those are things that are just roadblocks that you just need to push away and pile through. And if you do the work, anybody, I mean this, anybody can do it. You don't need to be this professional athlete or have all these resources. You look at all these people that have celebrities that are teaching people how to get through this. I can tell you from just a guy that went through addiction, for example, it wasn't the doctor, the psychologist, or the meds they gave me, or anybody like that. It was the other addict across the table that got me sober. And that's what the vision and the mission that I had. Yes.
I talked about the integrative health point. You're talking not just the pill or the therapist. You're saying you got the connection and the conversation to then change your belief.
Absolutely. And I believe in both. I absolutely do. So I want to make sure you know that, right? But the reality is you've got to do what's right for you. And you have to listen to your body. And the only way you do that is to be in tune with your body. So another thing that I talk about a lot in my book is be present, be mindful with yourself, start your day that way. And that's the top-down solution. So I talk about meditation and everybody goes, oh, I don't know if I could do that, right? But, I'm not talking about 8 hours on a rock like the Dalai Lama, right? It could be 5 minutes, right? By yourself on a bench somewhere, right? It could be just ease into it, right? But the reality is, if you're present with yourself and you ask the universe, right, a question, it'll come to you. It'll absolutely come to you. We're all connected, and you've got to have that open mind that that's going to happen, right? I can't tell you how many, I call them God moments, right? And I talk about the layers, like the God moment, and whether you recognize it or not, is like running, is a car on the highway. If you're just looking down the highway, you're going to see what's in front of you. That's it. But if you're looking around and your heart is open, your mind is open, right? You're going to be able to grab those God moments that would have just gone right by you, right? If you weren't present and mindful enough to get them and open enough to get them. And once you get one, you're addicted to them. You just want more, And so you just continue to open up and go, what's next? What's the universe going to bring me? It truly is amazing. I had, I'll tell you a quick story. My middle boy was born with, and you'll know this, doctor, it's a malrotation of the bowel 9 days before birth. He has last rites 4 times. He is an amazing, resilient individual.
He was born with that, and then you had some issues as soon as he was born, right? Okay, yeah.
As soon as he's born, they took him away. Right, they took him away, and they saved his life. That was wonderful. He last rites 4 times. This kid has resilience.
Oh my God! I would have
been crazy story. And then he had, on top of that, he has a physical disability called arthrogryposis, which, I don't know, you probably know, it's curved stiff joints. So he had this life-threatening birth defect. Then he had the physical disabilities. So I was in the NICU, and we were scrambling, and it was just crazy. It was the first few minutes, and we're trying to understand everything. I'm 25 years old. I don't know what's going on, right? I'm just like, what's happening here? I look across the room, and I see this nurse she's got the mask on, and I see her eyes, and I say, those eyes look very familiar. My brain, even in that moment, says, who is that? She comes over to me, takes her mask down, and she was a high school friend of mine. I still get choked up because she gave me a hug. She put her arms around me and said, I got the best team on this. We got this. And that was a God moment for me, because I then took a deep breath and I said, okay, I've got to let this go. And they're going to take care of my boy. And that was a God moment. That was and if I wasn't open to that, would I have received that? Would I have just turned around and gone crazy trying to figure everything out and not seen her? I don't know. I have no idea. But that happened. Now he's living on his own. He's an animator in Hollywood. He's making big movies. He's doing great, and living with his resilience muscle, which is very built up, as you could imagine. But that's just an example of a God moment that I would have missed, if I didn't open up my heart.
How old is your son now?
He is 38.
That's
and he is an inspiration to me. I tell his story in my book too. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, you just, with children in general, you always think one thing, but those are huge things, an outcome of something that could be profound. And then you also had all these other elements. It is so amazing what has brought you kind of that like you're saying, these God moments, but what has kind of kept you going? Is it your children, your faith, like with all of these adversities?
You said it. It's faith. It's faith. I truly believe that I believe in a higher power, whatever that may be, whatever you call it. I'm good with that. All good. So I believe in a higher power. I believe that I'm not driving the bus, that this journey that I'm on is not mine. I'm just here as a bystander to live this life as best I can. And I just want to be the best version of myself every single day for everybody around me. And what kept me going is that I knew that I'm a magnet, and I'm a magnet to people around me, right? Very, very, this is just simple concept. We're all magnets. If I put out the wrong vibes, I'm going to get the wrong vibes. So what kept me going is that I had to model my opinion. I had to model for the people around me, whether it was my children, my siblings, my friends, other family members, people at my job, anybody I came in contact with or met on a daily basis and made a human connection with. I truly believe that I have to model for them. And that's what kept me going. I remember being in the hospital and sitting by, my late wife, Bonnie's bed, and saying, we have to make a decision. We had to take her off life support. And I said, this moment right now, how I react, how I model for my children will dictate their life just as much as mine. And I made a conscious effort to make sure that my mindset was going to be, I am going to thrive over this. I'm going to thrive, not just survive. And that's what I did.
That's huge, because you're not just affecting yourself, but your children and all of those surrounding you with something like you could easily hide in a hole and be done. Right. And
easily,
and not pretend anyone else is around. But right. You know that there's more to your life and your story, and just you're going to be impacting other people. And now you were even saying and discussing men's health and discussing how you overcome it, and then taking mental health obviously to another level, because I think men don't even want to talk about like women, we're like not open books, but we're more willing to emotionally discuss things, say we had a bad day, tired, whatever it is. But men, where they're taught, okay, or be stronger, kind of go through the things, go through the motions, and don't show that they care or that things don't bother them. And then that just changes their dynamic. So you're teaching other people that it's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to be not okay. That's correct. And I'll say it again for any guys listening to this in your listening community, it is absolutely it's courage to be vulnerable. It takes courage to be vulnerable. And that's what you want to be as a man. You want to model courage. We need people like that in the world right now.
What do you think with vulnerability with men? Why are they so afraid to be vulnerable? Or is it just that they're just never taught?
I think it's a combination, right? My opinion, again, and non-medical.
Yeah, we're just discussing.
But I really think it's a combination. But I think that we are so programmed as guys to be strong, right? And protect, right? And not show that vulnerability. And we think of weakness as a negative thing, or vulnerability as a negative thing, when the reality is, if you're vulnerable, it's one of the key aspects of actually building trust with people you meet. And people don't know, a lot of people don't know that, right? It's like, everybody wants to, well, you got to trust me. Well, how do you trust somebody? Well, one of the ways you trust them is that they show their vulnerability. They show when they're wrong, or they show what they went through. And I think I call it the superhero syndrome, right? That guys have, right? And I want to switch it to a superhero mindset, right? So forget about that. Take it as a mindset, and then show what a superhero, for example, they've certainly shown vulnerability. You look at any of those, right? That we look at on TV or movies, have all gone through adversity. They've all been vulnerable, right? Yeah. So be a real superhero. That's what I say. And but I think guys are programmed, and I think we have to break that chain, right? And we have to talk about it and be okay with that, because in the long run, that's what our kids need too, right? Our kids need to realize that, right? They need to realize that the male figure can be vulnerable and strong at the same time. I mean, certainly women can be vulnerable and strong at the same time. Why can't guys?
Yeah, I can understand that. That's something.
I believe that. So
how can those get a hold of you? I know you said your website, but can you say it one more time, and the book that you've so that I'll have in the show notes, but that people can reach you.
Yeah, no, I'll put it up here on camera so they can see it. But there it is. There you go. But here's the book. It's on every outlet, right? Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's everywhere. If you Google my name, it'll come up. But I have a website it's robswymer.com, SWYMER, robswymer.com. You can get a hold of me there. You can also book me for any kind of speaking engagements and so forth. So I'm always open to do that and give back and give more.
Awesome. I really appreciate you being on the show and taking the time today.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. And if you have one more last keynote tip for the audience before we go.
Yes, live your life like a dog. How's that?
How's that? How so? Just rest and be?
No. When you go on a walk with your dog, the dog is at the beach, looking at the waves, playing with his master, worrying about getting the wind, being present. Live your life like a dog.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. As my dogs over here, you can't see them there. They're chilling out. They're chilling.
Yeah, that's right. Be present with yourself. That's the important part.
Living it up.
Live in the moment.
Thanks so much for being on, and it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And those listening, thank you for joining in. And make sure that each day, like I said, make sure you have a mindful way every day. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative Show with Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not to substitute for professional medical advice, diagnose, or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest or more information? Email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.